to give us some background and their thoughts, and then we'll open up to questions and answers. So we would ask you to please hold your questions until after they present. Finally, note that the county's made a public review version of the plan available on the comprehensive plan website, and an open house will be held on August 29th at 6:30 at the Nelson Center to get public feedback and answer questions. There are flyers on the back table there that will help you find that if you're not already familiar with that website. The county has indicated that they want to hear from residents what they like or do not like about the plan. So I would urge you all to participate. Now, I'd like to first introduce Robin Hauschner, who will chat for a bit about his work on the plan, and then Ernie will say a few words as well. After they're finished speaking, if someone has a question that they would like to ask, I would ask them to come up so they can use the microphone so that everyone in the audience can hear, and then they'll be able to respond. Sound good? Robin?
All right. Looks like we don't have a speaker going, but I'll speak as loudly as I can. If somebody in the back can't hear me, please let me know, and I'll try and talk a little bit louder. My name is Robin Hauschner. I'm Planning Commissioner for the Central District. I was born and raised in Massey's Mill, left for a few years for school, and found my way back here. And a couple years ago, was asked by Ernie to join the Planning Commission with a discussion about the upcoming comprehensive plan and what it was going to mean for the county. And tonight, specifically, my understanding is that we're going to talk more about the potential designation of Nellysford as a urban development area and what that means and the concerns in the community. The way that I'm going to look at this and address this tonight is talking about some of the pros and cons of an urban development area, what it will mean for the area as I understand it, my vision for what I would love to see Nellysford be in the coming decades with the next 20 years of what this comprehensive plan looks like. And then, after Ernie gives his discussion, happy to have questions after that and have more of a discussion about the concerns and hear more from you all. So there's a lot of pros and cons to urban development area. One of the concerns that was voiced from the community and one of the reasons that we're here is because this discussion that thinking that the word urban is going to lead to much more business development and more aggressive development of the Nellysford area. Urban development areas can also be great tools for constrainment of growth. And so by having an official area designated as an urban development area, you can set official policies in place that kind of maintain the character and development of an area and prevent it from growing out of control. So one example being is that, in my position as a planning commissioner, when special use permits come before the planning commission, one of the things that we consider is whether or not the proposal is going to be out of character with the development of the local area. And so were some large business to propose development somewhere along the 151 corridor that was out of character with the local development pattern, having an urban development area and saying that that is out of character with the development of the rest of the 151 corridor would be less likely to approve that development simply because it doesn't fit in line with our goals for the 151 corridor. Also, development does not necessarily mean business and the more frightening forms of development or the more unenjoyable aspects that you would not want to see in Nellysford. There's also improvements to architecture and infrastructure that would benefit everyone in the area. My personal vision and what I would love to see happen in Nellysford is seeing more pedestrian options, more cycling options, and getting people off of the 151 corridor, making it a safer area for people who want to have alternate forms of transportation. Also, removing some of the traffic on the 151 corridor that's associated with breweries and other alcohol consumption in the area. Get drunk people off the road and make Nellysford a safer area by improving the infrastructure of the area to have better options for people to move around the community. Also connecting the local community. Being able to walk down from your homes in Stony Creek, especially to the farmers market, being able to walk down into the shopping center of the IGA in Nellysford, being able to have an area to exercise along the Rockfish and being able to get around the community without having to get in your cars. That's one form of an urban development area that I would love to see, leaned into, is improving that pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. Some of the problems that can come along with an urban development area, in my own personal research of it, are things that are already existing issues for the area. Typically, development too quickly in an urban development area can lead to strain on the infrastructure, which we already see in the Nellysford area. Having so much traffic coming down the 151 corridor makes it an unsafe and unsustainable area for what Nellysford is and will be. So, I mean, for any further development along the 151 corridor puts additional strain there. Ernie will talk more about traffic studies, I'm sure, and other statistics and data that are present and current in the county. But that's an existing issue that an urban development area would actually serve to improve by giving us a guided form of restructuring the area. Another thing that considered is loss of local character with the designation of an urban development area. But again, with that sort of long-term planning to lean more towards the improvement of infrastructure rather than expansion of industry in a town like Nellysford, it doesn't serve to break down local culture and character, but actually improve it. Other benefits, though, to having an urban development area, you would see improvement in investments and incentivizing investment into the community. By having an area that's designated for development, it's bringing in more people who see Nellysford as a promising area where housing may further be developed or improved. That is about the extent of what I want to address tonight. I think the other points that we were asked to address, Ernie will be better equipped to answer and have more for you all. And then happy to take questions afterwards.
I have a question before Ernie speaks about it.
If you don't mind, if you could hold it for Ernie's, and then we'll come back to the question.
Well, it just seems like the tail's wagging the dog here. You talk about your vision, what you think that it would be nice to be in the community. You haven't talked to us. Why don't you ask us what we want for the community, what we think about it? I mean, I know that you're doing that now, but you've got another meeting coming up not very long from now, and there's already something apparently on the Planning Commission website. But this is the first that I've heard about it, and I live in Nellysford. So
we have had multiple meetings over the course.
It's not Nellysford.
it's not Nellysford. It's Nellysford, not Nellysford.
Okay. I'm Ernie Reed. I am the Central District.
You didn't answer my question.
We're supposed to have questions after we speak, so
I'm happy to address it afterwards.
we'll get to it.
If you talk into the mic and talk louder.
Hello, Mike. Hello. Hello. Okay. My name's Ernie Reed, and I'm the Central District Supervisor. One of the things that we have learned that a supervisor should do is it should recognize if there's any other elected officials in the House. Jesse Rutherford's here. Hey, Jesse. So just to let you know he's here. I haven't seen anybody else besides Jesse. Anybody else that I need to introduce, do you think? Anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that he's taking advantage of this opportunity as we are, so that's good. Besides being a supervisor, I just want to give you some idea of the things that I'm involved with because it gives me different perspectives on a lot of the things that you may have questions about and may be able to answer some questions that are related but not direct to UDAs. I'm on the board of directors of the Nelson County Service Authority. And as you know, the Service Authority provides water and sewer services for Wintergreen Resort on the mountain and 7 other water systems and localities around the county. It does not provide water services for Nellysford per se or for Stony Creek. And I'll talk more about that when we talk about small area plans like a UDA. I'm also on the board of directors of the Jefferson Area Board for the Aged. I'm on the board of directors of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. There were some questions about that I'll be happy to answer. And I'm also on a committee for a regional transit study that is happening through TJPDC, that being the Planning District Commission. So those are things that I'm directly involved with, and of course the other things that are going on in the county as well. Just to speak a little bit about the public involvement and asking for input and trying to incentivize input for all the people that are here. Before the comprehensive plan process began, I sent out postcards to all registered voters in my district and held my own kind of public forum to tell people about the comprehensive plan, how they could be involved, what it can do, because I think the public being involved in this is the most important piece of the puzzle. It's true it goes through the Planning Commission and comes before the Board of Supervisors, but all of the raw material in terms of comments and ideas and opinions really comes from the public, and those are all really important. And I think that our consultants as well as staff has done a good job at compiling those. And I also think that the draft plan that we have so far does a pretty good job at addressing them as well. A lot of the things that are in that draft and a lot of things that we've been hearing from y'all are things that have been part of public processes for about the last 20 years that I've been paying attention to. The past Rockfish Valley plan has many goals and objectives that line up with some of the majority public opinions on certain things. The 151 corridor study that VDOT is now doing along 151, that is also going back to past studies and then doing data currently so that can be updated. But the comprehensive plan is really what the driver of all of these things is, because the staff and the Board of Supervisors are, in theory, and I think in practice, look to the comprehensive plan to see, to decide what decisions should be made and what things should happen in the county. So what is in that plan is really important. And you mentioned the one more public input open house on the 29th at the Nelson Center. That's going to be really important to pay attention to and to be at if you can. If you can't, please get your comments in on the website. And other things that are going on is the 151 corridor study. Now that we've already, VDOT hosts that and creates that. That has to do with current data about traffic along 151 from Afton all the way to Brents Mountain. So that's a really important piece as well. Please pay attention to that. There will be more public input on that coming. But that is something that at this point doesn't look like it's going to be completed before the comprehensive plan is. So that study will be incorporated into it after it's completed, although some of the data will be available that we can use in the comprehensive plan. The thing about this is I don't think we're going to see any surprises. I don't think things are going to jump out you that people are going to think, we had no idea this was going to happen, or this is not really what most people want. I think we've done a really good job at responding to all the input that we've gotten. And my opinion is that there's not much difference between what people have been wanting for years in the Nellysford area and what's wanted now. The primary thing has to do with traffic safety, and traffic safety is for me one of the most. I think it's probably the thing that I hear the most about, and one of the things that I believe makes the a small area plan or a UDA designation makes that an opportunity to really directly address that, to create a safer corridor. And I can get more into that later. But I really, I want you to know that because the whole concept of a UDA is something that is a Virginia Department of Transportation focus, that one of the things that it does, in fact, the thing that our application for technical assistance in terms of studying that has to do with traffic safety and multimodal transportation in along the 151 corridor in Nellysford. So just to reiterate, the 151 corridor study, the comprehensive plan, and if we are successful at this point, we have not received a technical assistance grant to do a small corridor study under a UDA designation. So we don't know that we're going to get that. But as Robin said, a UDA gives the community and the county an opportunity to create the future that we want. And it's supposed to project 20 years in advance in kind of the same way a comprehensive plan is as well. So I'm going to just say one more thing about multimodal transportation, because I do think that that's critical here. Going all the okay, I'll do this first. Going all the way back to the Rockfish Valley Area Plan that was done about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. It started about 10 years ago. But that was not adopted by the Board of Supervisors. That had a lot of public input in it, had lots of good ideas, and projected a lot of things. But the Board of Supervisors at that time took a look at it and took no action on it. So that is not binding or even something that is recognized by the county as something that they need to follow. But the data that was gathered during that was really important, and that has been submitted for as one of the supporting documents to our current comprehensive plan, just so you know. And going all the way back to the early 2000s, trails and bike lanes, for want of a better term, have been something that the public has really said, yes, these are things that we should have. And not only is it necessary to get people out of their cars and to get the community connected and to be able to get from one place to another, which is one of the things that a UDA can do, it also creates a scenario where it creates a traffic calming effect on the corridor as well. For instance, if we're successful in getting a technical assistance grant for a small area plan under this UDA, what it would allow us to do is to put VDOT on notice that this is something that the county is projecting towards. It's not taking any steps, but it's something that they're looking at. And therefore, when the Virginia Department of Transportation looks at infrastructure, bridges that go across streams, the future roundabout at Route 6 and Route 151. When they look at those things, they have to consider what those would, that providing for the space for multimodal opportunities at those becomes something that VDOT can help fund and help turn into a reality. There's different pots of money that is available to be able to make that happen. But if you don't get those key passages considered in VDOT sized correctly to be able to have those, then the only option the county is going to have is for the county or the public to figure out a way to create its own system. And I don't know that that's a terrible idea, but I know that there really hasn't been any, it would be a very difficult and a very expensive and a very problematic, I think, process to try to go that route to create something like that. And it would not have the same effect as a Virginia Department of Transportation traffic calmed multimodal corridor would have. And if that can start getting on the table in the Nellysford area, it then also provides an opportunity for recreation in a larger piece for connectivity to the James River and to the Afton Tunnel, which are things that we've talked about as kind of pie in the sky things, but they are also things that would, if those things were able to be implemented, can provide a traffic calming and a lower transportation speed along the 151 corridor. The only way I know to slow down traffic on the 151 corridor is to make it less attractive to tractor-trailer traffic. Because there is no surefire system where the county can go to VDOT and say we need to have a slower speed limit here. When they do their studies, their recommendation, because they are responsible for traffic at all levels along the area, they're not going to want to limit that through steps that they are taking directly. They need to make sure that it is still a passable corridor. But if it is slowed down enough, then the GPSs will start saying, no, take 29 and 250. One more thing about the UDA has to do with other infrastructure like water. Now, I am on the Service Authority, and in 2000, there was a regional water study that was done for the 151 corridor in Nellysford. And the recommendation in that study was done by some consultants who did their homework. The result of that was a recommendation that the Service Authority find a way to provide services along the 151 corridor. And as you all know, Aqua Virginia is now providing, provides those services for Stony Creek. That is a private company who has certain goals and objectives for themselves. The Service Authority, locally operated, local staff, much more connected to the community, I think. I really think, if you're talking to me about what I might have a vision of, I think that that it would be much better, safer, beneficial to the county and to y'all if the county was connected to the sewer and water service instead of a private company. And that was a recommendation made in 2002. It's something that may come up in the comprehensive plan, but the UDA designation, one of the things it does, it looks at that infrastructure as well. So there will be, the infrastructure already puts limits on development in the corridor. The Service Authority would, would respond to whatever, but it's just a consideration that is one that I think has value, and I would throw it out to anybody if they want to have more discussions about it. I'd be happy to do that.
Done?
Yes.
Okay.